Chosen one, you didn't find this by accident. Heaven guided you here. Something has been tugging at your soul. Whispers in dreams, moments of déjà vu, the quiet knowing that this world feels wrong. You've sensed it, haven't you? The silence between seconds, time bending in strange ways, memories that don't quite fit. You look around and something deep inside whispers, "This isn't real." You are not crazy. You are awakening. There is a hidden system, ancient and spiritual, that rewrote the code of reality. They inverted truth, dimmed heaven's light and sold it as the sun, fed illusions and called them truth. But truth cannot be destroyed, only hidden. And tonight, the veil begins to tear. Stop scrolling, take a deep breath. Feel that pressure in your chest. That's your spirit remembering. What you are about to hear isn't entertainment. It's a transmission, a signal from the higher realm. Each word is a key unlocking a memory inside you. Fragments of who you were before the illusion began. Stay until the end, because the final revelation will expose the code they used to trap you, and the key to escape it. If your spirit vibrates with these words, type in the comments, "I'm waking up." Do it as an act of faith, a declaration that you choose truth over illusion. This is your moment of remembrance. And what comes next will shake the foundations of the world you thought was real. Before this message ends, I'll reveal the code that breaks the system. Chosen one. The enemy didn't destroy your destiny. He disguised it. He built walls of light that look like truth. He painted lies with heaven's colors, and humanity stepped into a mirror world where everything looks right but feels wrong. This is the false dimension, a realm not built to kill you, but to confuse you, to make you forget that you were born from divine breath, not from chaos. Your life is sacred architecture, not random dust. The veil isn't fabric, it's frequency, the vibration of fear and distraction that keeps your eyes fixed on shadows instead of truth. Have you noticed how everything demands your attention? Endless screens, constant noise, opinions that drain your peace. Each notification is a hook pulling your spirit away from silence, because silence collapses the illusion. That's why they keep you busy. They feed you anxiety, scrolling, and comparison, not to weaken you, but to distract you. Because distraction is modern bondage. It doesn't need chains, only your focus. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. John 8:32. Freedom begins the moment you question the world you've been handed. When life starts feeling artificial, when your spirit aches for something real, that's not failure. That's awakening. That's the glitch heaven hid inside you as a reminder. You were never meant to fit here. That's why nothing feels permanent. The false world can't hold the vibration of someone who remembers eternity. They'll call you strange, too sensitive, too spiritual, but your eyes have adjusted to the light. You see what others ignore. Every pause, every prayer, every act of forgiveness tears another layer off the illusion. This world isn't just broken, it's inverted. It celebrates noise and mocks stillness. It rewards performance and punishes authenticity. But heaven moves in silence, in surrender, in light that can't be captured. The veil isn't thick, it's mist, and truth is the wind. When you speak light, the fog trembles. When you worship, the false dimension loses power. You don't fight this world with fists. You break it by remembering, by being still enough to hear heaven whisper your real name. Have you felt it lately? Moments when time bends? Dreams that feel more real than waking life? Déjà vu that freezes you for 3 seconds? Those are cracks in the code. Windows of grace reminding you that this world is temporary and your soul eternal. As you awaken, you'll feel torn between 2 realms. One pulls you toward truth. The other whispers, "Go back to sleep." That's why awakening feels like grief. You're mourning the life you never truly lived and birthing the one heaven designed for you. Let it unravel. Let it fall apart. What collapses was never real. What remains is what's true. The veil is thinning, soon you'll see beyond the mirror. But once the illusion begins to break, the system fights back. That's when you'll start to notice the glitches, the cracks in the pattern of this world. And once you see them, there's no going back. Because what happens next accelerates everything. The glitch has begun. Chosen one. Every illusion has a weakness. Every false system hides a fracture. A secret exit heaven placed inside it. That code lives in you. The moment you started questioning everything, when noise no longer satisfied you, that was the first glitch. When you saw 11:11 for the third time today, when your dream spoke louder than reality, when your heart knew things your mind couldn't explain, heaven was speaking through the cracks. They call it coincidence. Heaven calls it confirmation. The glitch isn't an error, it's revelation. It's heaven shaking the simulation, letting you know the lies are losing power over your soul. Do you remember when your favorite music sounded hollow? When conversations felt scripted, like everyone was acting in a play that no longer made sense to you? That was the veil flickering, the false world struggling to contain your expanding spirit. When truth enters, deception decays. That decay appears as glitch, broken timing, repeated patterns, sudden awakenings. You're not losing your mind. You're finally finding it. The false dimension needs conformity, but heaven awakens individuality. That's why solitude became your teacher. Even Jesus withdrew to lonely places to pray, not to escape, but to align with a higher realm. Luke 5:16. Silence is heaven's classroom. The enemy fears silence because silence exposes the signal. When you stop reacting to chaos, you begin to hear the voice that says, "Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 46:10. Every glitch you feel, the flickering lights, the failed plans, the sudden endings, they're not random. They're messages. You don't belong here anymore. It's unsettling, I know, because the glitch tears through comfort. It destroys illusions that once felt safe. But security in a lie is still captivity. God isn't ruining your life. He's deleting corrupted files. Every false structure must collapse so truth can rise. When lessons repeat, same betrayals, same pain, same cycle. That's not punishment. It's heaven saying, learn the code and exit the loop. Awareness feels heavy at first. You're watching reality flicker between what it is and what it pretended to be. But revelation always feels like ruin before it feels like freedom. Your sensitivity isn't weakness, it's your power. You feel what heaven feels. That's why the false world exhausts you. Your frequency no longer fits it. When you walk into rooms and energy shifts, when people act different around you without knowing why, that's not coincidence. That's authority. You carry heaven's code within your DNA. And when heaven's code enters a corrupted system, it creates static, the glitch. It's the meeting point between illusion and truth. You are the interruption in the enemy's program. You are the living glitch. Proof the system can't enslave everyone. So don't fear the disruption, study it. When patterns repeat, ask, what is heaven revealing? Because every distortion hides a doorway. Stay awake, that doorway is your exit. Dimensions don't collapse through war, but through awareness. When light enters, darkness disappears. The system doesn't fear your strength, it fears your sight. And now that you've seen the glitch, you can never unsee it. Reality will never look the same again, because now you've begun to remember the original blueprint. But the next revelation goes deeper. The false world didn't just rewrite your surroundings. It tried to rewrite you. Chosen one. The greatest theft wasn't the world around you. It was what they took from within you. The false dimension didn't just distort what you see. It distorted who you believe you are. It didn't destroy your essence. It rewrote your reflection. It made you forget your divine design by burying it under layers of fear and comparison. From the moment you were born, the system handed you labels. Too much. Too quiet. Not enough. Every word another pixel of illusion painted over your original light. Until one day, you couldn't recognize yourself anymore. But heaven never forgot your true name, and right now, that name is echoing again. They couldn't erase your essence, so they built a mirror that distorts it. Every time you looked into it, you saw someone else's version of you. You saw your gifts as flaws, your empathy as weakness, your sensitivity as fragility. But those were always signs of divine assignment, not defects. Even your pain wasn't punishment. It was programming being undone. This world trains people to survive in fear, but heaven trains the chosen to rebuild through love. That's why your story felt heavy. You were carrying blueprints meant for reconstruction, and the system spent your life trying to convince you they were mistakes. But look at the pattern. Every time they buried you, you grew roots. Every time they silenced you, your voice grew louder. Every rejection redirected you toward truth. Remember Israel in Egypt, enslaved by forgetfulness, not by chains. The moment they remembered who they were, the sea itself parted. Exodus 14. That's what's happening inside you now. Illusion trembling as your identity awakens. Your true self isn't something you find. It's something you remember. You've always been divine. You just forgot. And heaven has been whispering, remember, that's why nothing external satisfies you. No relationship, no success, no title fills the emptiness, because you weren't made to fit the false dimension. You were made to transform it. So stop calling yourself by names they gave you. You are not broken. You are rebuilding. You are the sound of heaven remembering itself through human form. When you speak truth, reality shifts. When you forgive, timelines heal. When you love, heaven's vibration pierces the simulation like light through glass. You were never ordinary. You were born to be the interruption, the divine anomaly in a predictable world. You are heaven's code walking inside a corrupted system. That's why the attacks felt personal. Your awakening threatens the illusion itself. When one remembers, thousands begin to stir. So speak life over yourself. I am chosen. I am loved. I am remembered by heaven. Identity is your weapon, and the moment you reclaim it, everything begins to align. But there's another layer, deeper still, because remembering who you are means nothing if you forget what you carry. And what you carry is power, the frequency of heaven, chosen one. Heaven speaks in vibration. The Creator didn't build the universe with bricks. He spoke it into existence. And that sound still echoes through everything that lives. In the beginning was the Word, John 1:1. Not noise, not chaos, but frequency, pure divine resonance. You were designed to carry that same frequency. Your soul was tuned to heaven before your first breath. That's why certain songs move you to tears. Why silence sometimes feels sacred. Because somewhere deep inside, eternity still remembers its original sound. But the false dimension interferes. It distorts divine frequencies with fear, anxiety, distraction. It floods your spirit with static until you forget your own tone. That numbness you feel, that sense of disconnection, it isn't distance from God. It's interference in the signal, and your spirit has been trying to retune. Prayer isn't just words, it's resonance. Every whisper of faith vibrates beyond dimensions. Every act of love sends out a frequency the false world can't tolerate. When you worship, you're not performing. You're recalibrating reality. When you speak truth, sound rearranges energy. When you rest in peace, your stillness stabilizes the atmosphere around you. That's why the enemy targets your voice, because every word of faith shakes dimensions. Science has caught glimpses of this truth. Sound changes matter. Light responds to vibration. Creation still obeys the frequency of the word. That's why Jesus didn't argue with the storm. He spoke, "Peace, be still." Mark 4:39. And the sea obeyed, recognizing the vibration of its creator. When you speak in faith, the same authority moves through you. You were created in that image, to command, to create, to call things that are not as though they were. Romans 4:17. But before you release heaven's sound, you must clear the static within. Fear, bitterness, resentment, they distort your tone. Gratitude, worship, silence, might they refine it. Start now, close your eyes, place your hand over your heart, breathe slowly, say softly, I am light. Feel the vibration ripple through your chest. That's heaven aligning with you. Have you noticed how your energy changes near peace? How your intuition sharpens after prayer? That's frequency alignment. You're tuning back to the shepherd's voice. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them. John 10:27. The false dimension keeps you scrolling, reacting, chasing, because motion without direction keeps you trapped. But heaven speaks through stillness, through breath, through those small moments that whisper, return. When you obey that whisper, miracles follow. Synchronicities appear. Time bends in your favor. Because creation recognizes when one of its frequencies comes home. The frequency of heaven isn't learned. It's remembered. Forgive, and your tone rises. Worship, and your resonance ascends. Speak truth, and light slices through illusion. You are the tuning fork of creation. Heaven vibrates through you when you walk in faith. That's why pain tried to silence you, because your sound rebuilds what darkness destroys. But that season is ending. The static is clearing. Heaven is retuning your heart right now. Feel it. That warmth in your chest, that pulse in your palms. That's your signal coming back online. When your frequency rises, everything begins to obey. Doors open. Clarity flows. Peace expands. Because creation recognizes its maker's tone inside you. You're not here to escape the false world. You're here to transform it, to release heaven's sound until illusion collapses under truth. But before the full power flows, there's one last test, the silence. The moment heaven seems distant and the world goes quiet, don't fear it. In that silence, heaven is retuning your being. That's where you gain strength to endure isolation. And that's where we're going next. Into the wilderness, the sacred classroom of silence. Chosen one. The silence you feared was never punishment. It was preparation. Heaven hides its greatest lessons where the noise of illusion can't reach. Inside loneliness. You thought you were abandoned, but really, you were being separated for revelation, set apart so the false could fall away. Look back for a moment. How many times did people walk away right when you needed them most? How many plans collapsed just when you said, this time it will finally work? That wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Every closed door whispered, not this, not yet. Even Jesus was led into the wilderness before his ministry began. Matthew 4:1. The wilderness wasn't punishment, it was training, isolation that refines discernment. The false dimension calls it depression. Heaven calls it recalibration. You weren't being buried, you were being planted. Solitude feels heavy because transformation presses against what's dying inside you. The false self screams when it starts to lose control. That's why loneliness burns. It's the old identity melting away. But listen, in that silence, your spirit starts to hear again. You begin to sense divine rhythm. You notice patterns you used to miss. You feel heaven's breath moving through your thoughts. Isolation isn't absence. It's sacred distance, space for you to meet yourself without distortion. Those nights you cried with no answer, the prayers that hit the ceiling. Heaven heard. Silence wasn't neglect. It was God strengthening your inner ear. When the teacher is quiet, it means the student is ready for the test. And this was your test. Could you still believe when nothing around you confirmed the promise? You passed. You're still here, trembling maybe, but standing. That's faith refined. Many are called, but few remain when silence falls. Only the chosen understand that God's quiet isn't distance, it's depth. It's the moment when He downloads truth too heavy for words, where your spirit learns the language of trust. In that wilderness, you lost people, plans, even stability. But look again, you also lost illusions. Heaven didn't take from you. It protected you from what couldn't walk into your next dimension. If the crowd had stayed, you'd have drowned in their noise. If the plan had worked, you'd have settled too soon. So heaven stripped away everything that couldn't hold your new frequency. Now you stand at the threshold, lighter, clearer, tuned. The silence wasn't empty after all. It was filled with whispers you couldn't hear before. You learned to find peace instead of panic. That's power. To pray without proof. That's authority. To love those who betrayed you. That's divinity. Your clarity is now your weapon. You can sense deception before it speaks. You feel energy shift before anyone else does. You've become what the system fears most, a conscious vessel of light. So don't resent the wilderness. It made you unbreakable. The silence made you dangerous. And now, the shaking begins. The moment when everything false trembles before truth. Don't fear it. You've already survived it in secret. Now you'll walk through it in power. Chosen one. The shaking has begun. Can you feel it? In the air. In your spirit. In the way everything that once felt stable now trembles. Don't confuse this with destruction. It's divine rearrangement. Heaven is shaking what was never meant to stand, so that what is eternal can finally rise. Everything false must fall before truth can reign. That's why your plans collapsed. That's why people vanished. That's why what once felt safe now feels unbearable. It's not chaos, it's cleansing. The ground beneath you is moving because heaven is redrawing the map of your destiny. Hebrews 12:26 says, "Yet once more I will shake not only the earth, but also the heavens." You're living that prophecy right now. You prayed for clarity, and heaven answered with shaking, because clarity rarely comes in comfort. It comes through collapse. The false dimension built its thrones on lies, and when truth enters, those thrones crumble. Every tremor in your life is heaven saying, "You can't stay where you were. Don't try to rebuild the old structure. Don't cling to what used to hold you. Let it fall, because after the shaking, alignment comes. A new structure, real, steady, divine. Shaking isn't chaos, it's revelation in motion. It exposes the counterfeit and reveals the eternal. When idols tremble, truth stands. When systems fail, faith rises. Even the earth follows this rhythm. Stars collapse only to shine brighter. Heaven's pattern has always been rebirth through shaking. You are part of that pattern. That's why you feel storms before they arrive, why you sense change in your bones. Your soul is synced with heaven's heartbeat. This isn't the time to hide, it's the time to stand. As the false dimension collapses, heaven is raising you as a pillar, a stabilizer for those who will panic when illusions fall. You are the calm in the quake, the light in the blackout, the voice that whispers, "This is not the end, this is the unveiling." When fear spreads, you release peace. Your frequency anchors the atmosphere. That's your divine assignment. But remember, this shaking isn't only around you, it's inside you too. God is shaking loose every belief that kept you small, every opinion that defined you, every fear that muted you. The old version of you can't carry the new vibration being born. So don't resist. Let the tremors move you into alignment. Cry if you must, but don't rebuild what heaven is tearing down. When thunder rolls, lift your voice and declare, "I am unshakable." Your roots are planted in eternity. Heaven's kingdom cannot be shaken, and you belong to that kingdom. Let this shaking purify you. Let it strip fear from your bones. When the dust settles, you'll see what was real all along. This isn't the end, it's the beginning of rebuilding. Because after the shaking comes the door of return, the passage back to the original dimension, the realm of truth and remembrance. Chosen one. After the shaking, there is silence, not emptiness, but the stillness that follows birth. The false world has fallen away, and before you stands something you've never seen yet somehow always remembered. The door of return. It doesn't open with hands. It opens with surrender. It's made of light and memory, built from every whispered prayer you thought no one heard, and it hums with your true name. Heaven has waited for this moment, because this door isn't just a place, it's you. Every trial, every loss, every awakening brought you here. Each tremor stripped illusion and revealed design. When you walked through storms, you weren't chasing God. God was awakening inside you. The realignment wasn't external. It was your own spirit rising to meet eternity again. Jacob once dreamed of a ladder reaching heaven. Genesis 28:12. He woke saying, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." That's what awakening feels like, realizing heaven was never gone, only forgotten. You don't need to climb that ladder. You are the bridge now, heaven touching earth through human form. Every breath vibrates between realms. Every word reshapes the atmosphere. Step closer. Feel the pull in your chest. That warmth is permission. That ache is alignment. But to cross, you must release one final weight, the need to understand. Faith opens what logic cannot. Whisper, "Let there be light," and the door responds. Because the same voice that formed galaxies now echoes through your spirit. When you step through, colors deepen, time slows, conversations carry meaning you once missed. That isn't fantasy, it's resonance. You're standing in the real dimension, written by love before fear rewrote the script. This return isn't escape, it's restoration. You weren't meant to flee Earth, you were meant to heal it. You are heaven's ambassador, carrying the vibration of home into every shadowed space. Look around your life now. The ruins still smoke, but beneath the ash, seeds glow. Speak over them. I call forth light. I call forth truth. I call forth divine alignment in every corner of my world. As you speak, creation listens, because reality still recognizes your voice. The false dimension collapses wherever a chosen one remembers. Not by force, by frequency. Not by fight, by presence. You are living proof that light still wins, that love still rewrites code, that God still breathes through humanity. Don't fear returning to ordinary places. There is nothing ordinary about you now. When you enter a room, heaven enters with you. When you forgive, dimensions realign. When you smile, darkness loses ground. Look through the door once more. Behind it lies peace, clarity, purpose. Everything you thought you lost. Step through, and you'll realize they were waiting all along. You've come full circle, from illusion to truth, from noise to stillness, from amnesia to remembrance. But even now, one final revelation remains. Because once you return, you must learn to build again, as the restored blueprint of heaven on earth. Chosen one. Now you see clearly, it was never the world that trapped you. It was the belief that you were powerless inside it. They didn't steal your reality. They borrowed your belief to build theirs. But the illusion ends the moment you remember. You are awakening to the truth that everything you speak, think, and love carries creative power. You were never a victim of the system. You were sent to rewrite it with light. You are not here to escape this realm. You are here to restore it. The greatest power they feared was never in your hands. It was in your faith. Faith is the vibration that bends reality back toward heaven's original design. The pulse you feel now, steady, alive, unstoppable, is creation flowing through you again. You have returned to the true dimension, the realm where words become worlds. So speak, beloved. Speak life into your home. Speak peace into your future. Speak alignment into your atmosphere. When you decree, heaven echoes. And when heaven echoes, reality obeys. Everything that once seemed lost begins to rearrange in your favor. Because you're no longer reacting to life, you're creating it. You're no longer trapped in the program. You're the programmer. You are the living word in motion. The false world fades now like mist before dawn. In its place, your purpose rises, luminous, unshakable. This is your return, not as a wounded wanderer, but as an awakened creator. So let us seal this moment in prayer. Father of light, thank you for tearing the veil, for awakening your chosen ones to remember who they are. Let your truth anchor in us like unshakable fire. Let every illusion dissolve before faith. Teach us to create in love, to speak with heaven's authority, to walk as living reflections of your word. May every listener rise in remembrance. May their homes vibrate with peace. May their steps release healing wherever they go. Let your kingdom come, through us, around us, within us, and let this awakening never fade. In the name of the Eternal One, Amen. Chosen One, if your spirit felt this truth, don't leave empty. Type in the comments, "I've remembered," not as routine, but as declaration. Like this video, subscribe, and share it, not for numbers, but as an act of faith. Every action in light multiplies the frequency of truth across the earth. You are the bridge between heaven and reality. You are the sound that restores creation, and your awakening has only just begun.